Hi everyone,
I am Janet Vallejo.
and I'm Judel Maray, and I am Hanan Benito.
And I am Michael Lombao.
We are here to discuss the sinful social structures.
Sinful social structure. Our topic for discussion here focuses on social sin. But to understand social sin, we must first understand what sin is. In 1999, Pope John Paul II said, "Now looking at the world, today we have to admit that there is a marked decline in the consciousness of sin, because widespread religious indifference or the rejection of all that right reason and revelation tell us about God. Many men and women lack a sin of God, covenant, and of His commandments. All too often, the human sense of responsibility is blurred by a claim to absolute freedom, which is considered threatened and compromised by God, the supreme legislator. How we define sin? Sin is an offense against reason, truth, and right conscience. It is failures in genuine love for God and neighbor, caused by a perverse attachment to certain goods. It wounds the nature of man and injures woman's solidarity. It has been defined as an utterance, a deed, or a desire contrary to the eternal law. Sin is an offense against God, against you. You alone have sinned and done that which is evil in your sight. Sin sets itself against God, love for us, and turns our heart away from it. Like the first, sin is disobedience, a volt against God through the will to become like God, knowing and determining good and evil. Sin is those love of oneself even to contempt of God. In this proud self-exaltation, sin is diametrically opposed to the obedience of Jesus, which achieved our salvation.
There are 2 degrees of sin, mortal and venial. Mortal sin separates us from the love of God, while venial sin wounds our relationship with God, but it does not break it. There are 3 conditions that must be met for an action to be a mortal sin. It must be grave matter, we must know the action to be grave matter, and we must make consent to the action. Thus, any action we are forced to do against our will does not constitute mortal sins. Personal sin affects our relationship with God. Social sin are those actions of ours that affect the people around us and our relationship with them. We read in the Compendium of Social Doctrine of the Church. Certain sins, moreover, constitute by their very object a direct assault on the one's neighbors. Such sins in a particular are known as social sins. Social sins is very sin committed against the justice due in relations between the individuals and the community, and also between the community and the individual. Social sin too is every sin against the rights of the human person, starting with the right to life, including the of life in the womb, and every sin against the physical integrity of the individual. Every sin against the freedom of others, especially against the supreme freedom to believe in God and worshiping Him, and every sin against the dignity and honor of one's neighbor. Every sin against the common good in its demands, in the whole broad area of the rights and duties of the citizens, is also a social sin. In the end, social sin is that sin that refers to the relationships between the various human communities. These relationships are not always in accordance with the plan of God, who intends that there be justice in the world and freedom and the peace between the individuals, groups, and peoples. From the individual sins come social sins in a larger sense. The combined effects of our sin from the structure of sins, the compendium of social doctrine of the church states, the consequences of sin perpetuate the structure of sin. This is rooted in the personal sin and, therefore, are always connected to concrete acts of individuals who commit them, consolidate them, and make it difficult to remove them.
It is thus that they grow stronger, spread and become sources of other sins, conditioning human conduct. These are obstacle and conditioning that go well beyond end actions and brief lifespan of the individual, and infer also in the process of development of peoples, the delay and slow pace of which must be judged in this light. These structures of sin can be things like racial attitudes that keep us from recognizing and the dignity of all people, thinking ourselves better than others. These structures can also be official public policy, like the old segregation policies eliminated in the civil rights movements in the 1960s. Today, examples of the structures of sin might be policies that keep people living in poverty from being able to better themselves. It isn't the policies explicitly say the poor must remain poor. Rather, the policies fail to ensure that they have the opportunity to advance themselves. As such, they are sins of omission rather than commissions. It is the attitude that is sinful. And sins of omission is our failure to care enough to act that make it sins. We can act against these structures of sin in two ways. First, there is always direct charity, where we do what we can to help the people by providing assistance, whether by offering financial help or volunteering our time in some way to help. The other way to work against structures of sins is to advocate change public policy. How do you do this? First, you must be aware of needs of others. In your own community, this can be as simple as looking around you. It also means looking at both your local news and the national world news to see the needs of people beyond your own neighbor. When you are following the news, also pay attention to what issues are being debated by the various governmental bodies. Then write or call your legislators when
These are the wrongdoing that often hear or see from people close-minded, or people that don't right and wrong. You can adapt this from the people around you, and sometimes because of eagerness in getting what you want, we commit doing mistake to get things you want or hated. You commit using your harm mad and angry to someone. In short, sometimes we do not realize the sin that because we want to anger, to have the sex to others. Sin is something that hard to about state because every person we meet, everything we do, everything you think, everyday decision we make that can do us wrong. Sin is hard to escape, but God is faithful and just to forgive us if you confess our sins. We have personal sins like being selfish and greedy. When you feel any those meaning, we are sinning against God, against people around us, and even against ourselves. These examples are probably sinful. Well, as social people around us, and we can adopt wrong activities like gossiping, when we talk to our friends. Sometimes we are talking about someone else's wrongdoing when we are in a bad mood. The structure are the situation that come into our lives that make us think poorly. We commit sin because of situation like when you are poor, you don't have food to eat and you don't have work because you don't have any.
Thank you for watching. We hope you like it. God bless you.